Yeah. So my first question, Paul, the question that I've thought about a lot is, was there something particular about this wood that caught your imagination, and why so many returns? Was it the location or the notion of returning to the same spot again and again?
Both really. I was very slow. I still am. I think how I work, my working method is fairly slow. But there, I think what I loved about it was that it felt very untouched. As soon, I think it's a lot more busy now, like everywhere. But it was about 15 years ago, I think, or so, and it felt really untouched by people. And as soon as you got off a few pathways and off the road and into the forest, you could feel very isolated, which I loved. I still do. I like that in scenes and landscapes and stuff so much.
Can you just remind everyone exactly where it is and what the name of the forest?
Yeah, well, it's Lady Bower Reservoir, so it's just the other side of Sheffield, really. I mean, it's not far away at all. It's very close.
West side.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's ever so close, but the difference between Sheffield and that is incredible. It's amazing.
And were you looking for a location to shoot, or did you come across it?
I think I came across it. We went there recreationally, really, and so I came across it before I did this work. I was shooting loads of. I was a keen gardener, and I shot a lot of plants in my garden, and really close-ups, quite close-up studies in black and white. Of plants and flowers, and just actually in situation in the garden. So it became, I thought, it's similar, seeing these trees and the light on them and everything. And so it sort of came out of the plants. It was just giant studies of a similar thing, in a way.
And you say you started 15 years ago, and you have returned regularly over the years?
Well, I did this over about 3 or 4 years then, and just regularly returned then to do this body of work, which became the book then, Truncated. And so yeah, it was over quite a while, 3 or 4 years. But I tend to just shoot in the winter anyway, and so that kind of reduces it a bit time-wise.
And is that because you've got, more of a skeleton, rather than the sort of poofy,
absolutely,
green tree? Yeah,
skeletal, and there's more to see. So much is covered up in the summer.
Such an interesting view, because I don't think most of us, I think superficially you wouldn't say there's so much more to see in the winter.
Yeah, that might be weird. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. To me, there's more to see, but it's
see through the trees.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I suppose it's more bare, exposed, but then I feel I can sort of do something with it. I can work with it. In the summer, it's even more chaotic, I think, because nature goes mad, and it's so chaotic, and that's then harder to certainly make pictures like this, which are quite formal. And I wanted to do quite a formal thing, really. That's try to order the trees and everything. I mean, it's a bit obsessive, really, I suppose.
So that's interesting. That sort of leads to my next question. My next question was sort of, how do you choose what to photograph, or what is it that you're looking for?
Oh, that's a...
Yeah, or do you know before you take the shot, is what I was...
Not really. Not there. No. I mean, I sort of wander around, and still now it's quite like that. And it has to sort of come to me in a way, if I'm lucky. But and sometimes, so often you don't get anything, or things just don't work. You try things and they don't work.
Do you know immediately that they're not going to work? When you take a shot, you go, that's it. sort
I
of?
think I do more now.
Okay, interesting.
But I didn't. I used to shoot a lot more, which probably everyone does. And I shoot less stuff now. When I'm shooting, take less pictures, different types of pictures, because I might look through the camera, but I think, well, that probably doesn't work really. I don't think that's going to work. And I'm much more fussy now.
Okay, so it's interesting because I assume, you know, that all of us use our mobile phones and snap away willy-nilly, and presumably you only ever use your large format camera.
Yeah, I mean, medium format now, I've getting smaller now, it's a bit lighter and quicker to use. But yes, I don't work with digital equipment. No, I don't. It's just something I've always done film based. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, for me, they're sort of utterly atmospheric and...
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I wanted.
So what I wanted to ask is, clearly you do a lot of work in manipulating your photographs in the darkroom.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to know, Paul, was if I put you, I don't know, in a back street or a car park, could you create the same sense of mystery, or is it the treeness of them?
It's hugely was the forest. I think the lack of that really helps. Although then since I've done, and after this I went into the fens, and it's so different. But you can create atmosphere using natural atmosphere and using the darkroom, which I kind of try to do. But it was a lot of them I shot. It was towards the end of the day. So there wasn't much light, and the trees kind of glow quite a bit. I think the algae on them does glow, and I could use that. I shot quite a lot of very long exposures.
When you say very long?
Well, minutes. For me, that's long.
Yeah.
You know, not hours, but minutes rather than a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Which a phone will do, and most cameras.
So you're not hoiking lights about with you. This is what you are faced with.
Yes.
That's
Someone.
incredible.
It's not a picture here, but there's one in the book. There's another. I can remember someone asked me, "Did you like that tree?" But a little bit of sunlight came through the trees and just lit it at the time. I was lucky.
Yeah, because I often look at Alien and think, how did that? How did he get that?
Yeah. I know it was. I think the youngness of the tree, the bark's so smooth, and it was reflecting the light more than the textured trees that are more matte, so they reflect less light. But I've also increased it in the dark room. So can I get? Get up. So I sort of printed these areas in, which has made them darker in the dark room, and this area a hell of a lot here, and the corners a little bit, and so made the tree sort of glow even more.
But you only found that out when you after you'd taken the shot. You thought, I can do more with that.
Yes. But I'm quite aware of that sort of thing.
I mean, I was going to ask you quite what you do in the darkroom, because it's something we pretty much none of us have any experience of anymore.
No, not many. No.
Yeah. So, can you first of all, for me, maybe not for all of you here, explain silver gelatin and how important it is in creating these amazing images?
Well, it's just a method of capturing the image, really. I suppose digital is just a different version, and it's just using something physical instead of electronic,
a chemical,
I suppose, which is silver, particles in a base, the film base, basically, and in the paper as well. So
you're choosing to make. Everything you can choose to make something more luminous, more
yes,
reflective.
I mean, the type of film and developer I used, and making long exposures, things like this, little technical things like that, do help with that look.
So, sort of my final sort of question is: obviously, you're going into you were going into the forest quite regularly, being quite thoughtful about what you were taking. And is there, when you're creating a final image, I'm next to Stave, is it a sort of 50-50 between the image taking and the processing, or is it the processing? Where does the magic happen?
I think it was I mean, it's hard to put a figure on it, but yeah, there was a large part is the printing in these pictures, probably more than some of my later work, really, because I really got very involved in printing, spent a long lot, I was very obsessive about it, and I've tried to print a little bit more simply now. Where I can, it's just you change, and the subject matter makes you change as well. Yeah.
Because it's that particular the one that they're all facing, that the larger one.
Yes.
How much work did you have to do on that? Because it's very beautiful.
It's quite a lot, yeah. Because I've had to print that loads of times. Because luckily I've sold quite a few of them.
Yeah.
But and it really is quite complicated to print, but
Could
there are
just sort of
different ways. I
explain?
think you could print it probably simpler
Yeah.
now and get something that looks similar, fairly similar. But I did it a long time ago, and there are just different ways of achieving the same thing. So it's a really slow build-up with that of the different densities in the print. So I slowly build them up by adding little bits. Using bits of card.
Go on. So I'm fascinated. What do you do with your bits of card?
Just shake them about under.
You've got 3 baths, haven't you? And you've got your chemicals in one.
Yes.
Another chemical, and then you
Fix.
spongy water.
Yeah.
And so consequently you're sort of whizzing.
But printing it before, exposing it from the enlarger, I'm sort of under the enlarger in the dark, shading bits and printing bits in.
See, that's what I had a feeling there was something involved.
I mean, people do this digitally as well.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Dodging and burning. Yes.
Because I think
But
in those days didn't you have sort of, when you've got doing the light bits and you're doing your exposure, that's when you start wafting your paper and shading
Yes.
your paper to the darkness.
Yes, and I only print sort of additionally, which I only burn in. I don't dodge anything. I just burn in. That's the way I've taught myself to do it, and that's the way my enlarger timer works. So everything is built up. So it's like building up layers of density around a point that I start at. And so I suppose, so with Portal, I kind of start at, unsurprisingly, the light area through there, the portal sort of thing. So everything then comes from that, different densities.
So it seems to me that you have your image, and then from that image, it's almost like creating a poem for you, in that you've got an atmosphere or a feeling you want to evoke, and then you're layering and adding.
Yeah, certainly layers. Yeah, and layers and building it up, and to emphasise something a little bit more, but it's in the picture, but it's quite subtle, you know. Of course.
Yeah.
But you don't. I try to make it subtle. I don't want someone to look at a print and think, "Oh, I can see. Oh, yeah, he's burnt in the sky there. He's made the sky darker." And I used to print like that when I started, and I don't want anyone to really see how it's printed. It just looks natural.
It feels effortless, but very not. If you.
Yeah, I want it to. Just look quite natural. But you are. Sorry.
Oh, go.
I go to the community darkroom in Nottingham, what used to be the photo parlour.
Oh, right,
and Dan Wheeler, the guy that owns it and runs it, I mean, he's been showing me how to dodge and burn it. It's a if you pardon the pun, it's like a dark art. You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great to see how he'll use the bits of card, the little, you know, kind of, you know, wire, you know,
Yeah,
a bit of blue
a
tack,
disc on
and
wire
he's doing
and
it. It's
stuff.
almost like seeing Gandalf, you know, you know, kind of like doing this, you know. But I know what you mean. And he's shown me, or he's showing me how to build up those layers that you talk about.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but it is real. It's, as I say.
But I see it as building up layers.
Yeah, it is.
Really, in the picture, and it is a bit like drawing or painting in that respect. You know, you could be putting more ink on, or you're building up layers basically. But yeah, I studied photography at Nottingham, so Trent. So, yeah.
Do you record what you do?
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah, I have to, so I know what I've done. So I've got files, ring binders full of these print schedules that I've made. So I draw everything in and have a little bit of shorthand sort of thing that I know, and draw all the movements and what I do. So in a sequence. So then I have to remember the sequence and. When I'm printing, obviously. But it sort of comes back to you, every image, eventually. But I couldn't say, oh, I know how to print that. Although I kind of do with things like that I've printed quite a bit. But it's that strange memory that it comes back to you then when you familiarise yourself with the written instructions.
Right. So you don't record it locally, or you don't have an assistant there?
No, I wish. No, but I've got these printouts that I know a few people, it's done that I found that other photographers did years ago, and so I have like blank squares or blank rectangles, and then I can draw in what I do in the blank squares, and also what exposure, the time and the grade, especially the grade and all that.
I can't even remember my passwords.
I can't, but that's probably all I can remember is this.
Have an idea of what it is you want to create, or are you experimenting and building on the experiment?
Yeah, I have more of an idea now, I think. Yeah, I've got used to and have more of an idea. Although which I did, depends what the work's like. So I did, so this is a similarity between the pictures, very similar really in Truncated. So that had a certain style of printing. Then after that I did these books on the fens, and all this work on the fens is very different, but that had a different, it involved being really subtly trying to get a little bit of density in the skies, which in the fens in winter is just this leaden grey, with nothing in there really at all. So it was hugely about that, and being very, very subtle, because the light was so flat that I shot in there that you couldn't, if you went really dark somewhere or burnt somewhere in too much, you'd really notice it. So it's a very different sort of type of printing in a way. And then the latest book I've done, the latest work, has still been even a bit more different. So just subtly, it depends on the subject, really, I think.
Have you had any happy accidents in terms of using, and then it's like, oh wow, that's fantastic, then can you remember?
I sort of try to, but they're not accidents. But definitely, though, when I've made mistakes, it's sometimes something's come out of that. It's really good, because otherwise it can get locked into working a certain way, and everything looks the same, and that's a bad thing. So certainly making mistakes is, certainly with printing and that, it can be very, very good, really.
Well, and also what I'm wondering is, because you might have got an unexpected result, how have you managed to then record that bit of process, you know, you're talking about logging things in your
Yes, yeah,
picture.
yeah.
So it's like...
Well, I'd do it again. Yeah, I'd just do it again and know what I'm, and sort of know, oh, I know what I did. You can usually work out what you did, like you didn't stop down the enlarger or something, which is, you know, change the aperture settings on the enlarger so you can way overexpose something, but that then, wow, it's really dark, very dark or lighter, but it works. So you kind of see what you've done and then do it again and yeah, log it down.
So you have a happy accident. Oh, that's great. Now, my aperture was this, and sort of so-and-so was that, and sort of, okay, I think I remember half of what I did last time.
Yeah.
Jot it down,
Yeah.
have another go, and then probably 3/4 of it, you know, and try again.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's totally it, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, sort of,
absolutely.
yeah.
But it's all just slower in the dark room the old-fashioned way that compared to digital. This is why not many people do it. It's just slower, and it's got more expensive as well, which is a pity.
Paul, this might be an unfair question. Please feel free not to answer.
Okay.
I know, and that's loaded.
No pressure, Paul. No pressure, Mary.
Sounds horrendous.
I know Big About quite well myself.
Yeah.
Quite interested to look at the pictures. Do you feel that what you've captured and been able to create represents a feeling that you wanted to capture about a place?
I do for me, yes, yeah. But I suppose it's different for everyone, and so different when you go, what time of year, you know, and also what day. Because I'd kind of go on very still days as well. I never wanted any the wind, which, you know, because of taking long exposures and wanting to. I just wanted all the detail to see so much detail in the trees. So for me, it did, and that's what I'm trying to create with the printing, which is sort of exaggerate things. So I feel, oh, that shows the atmosphere that I felt.
Things about Lady Round can be quite gloomy.
Yes, yeah,
It's not to everybody's taste.
yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is the trees, as you can look, they're in rows.
Yes,
So there's a rigidity and repetitiveness.
yes, because it was planted.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a managed planting. It was managed. At the
yeah,
time when,
yeah,
we had this kind of cordon sanitaire around reservoirs to keep them clean. You couldn't actually, we weren't treating water as such. You
Yeah.
drank what came from reservoirs.
yes,
So the idea was that you had the trees there to kind of sanitise the water.
yeah, yeah,
So you've got this
yeah,
very,
which is fantastic.
very rigid.
And that helped.
Which you don't find in many other plantations because the
Yes.
plantation is also well managed.
I think that's what helped me in the photograph there, because I could find patterns, literally, in the trees. Like the second picture in there, second one from the left. They're regimented. It's the patterns, that formality. Yeah, yeah, and the formal. And in this one here, second from the left here as well.
Yeah. And you
Totally.
can also see it in the
Yes,
so
in
they haven't
Portal.
thinned as well as the others.
Mm,
So they've been thinned up to the point, and
Mm.
thinning the really good forestry practices then stopped. And so that one there, the trees are kind of much closer to them. It's been thinned. So
Yes, and also, so I found some things that were as that management of the forest had sort of was disappearing a bit. You find these strange things appearing, and so, yeah, they look that's alien, and it looks quite alien to the environment.
I mean, it's interesting to me, you mentioned the specificity of, I can't even pronounce the word, of Ladybower, because for me, they've almost become archetypal images of what we imagine a fairy tale would be like, the fairy tale woods we read about or when we were children. And I know one of my colleagues had a question for you about them. I don't know if you want to ask, because it sort of ties into this.
Yeah, I was asking about the titles and how you come up with them. Because I know when I first looked at the gallery, I looked at the photos, and then I looked at the titles, and then that changed my
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, that was just a sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek and just very personal interpretation of what they made me feel, sort of thing, which pictures do very often, just make people. But everyone gets something different out of pictures, which I like. I think that's really good if they do. And it's not just everyone thinking, oh, that's a picture of a tree, and that's it. Everyone gets something different out of them. And it was just my personal sort of reaction to them.
I'm really glad you've got titles, because I do find in some some artists put untitled 1, untitled 2.
It is difficult.
Yes.
It is difficult.
And yes, it can allow you to, like you were saying, your own interpretation, because you aren't sort of guided by the title, but also it gives a different take and for me a bit more understanding of the artist and like
yeah,
really what they're thinking.
It's funny,
and I like
actually,
that personal bit.
Rothko always makes me laugh because it's red on black. And you look at it, red, you're kidding me. You don't say, Mark. It's like,
Absolutely, it's difficult. Titles are difficult.
Yes.
How much would you say your artistry in the darkroom affects how you take the original image, how you set it up, how you go about it, knowing that the other half of it lays within the darkroom?
Yeah. It's not always half and half sort of thing, and I think.
Are you thinking of that process though?
Not you.
The original
Sometimes, but not normally. Sometimes like 5%, 10%. I don't know. Some I certainly can think. Oh, I can do a bit to that, and that would be really good. But usually you're just trying to get an interesting picture, and that's all you're thinking about, and see what it if it works. And I can usually tell by when you're there if it's going to be quite good. But the other comes afterwards, and I certainly probably print. It's not that I do less, but it's slightly less important, the printing now with the work I've done. But that's not true for all of them. so probably not true.
The prints we see, how many times have you tried to print those before you've got one that you're happy with?
These, it was quite a lot. Paper was everything was cheaper. Now it's not. I try to be a lot quicker and.
So 10 attempts or more?
Well, could be easily, yeah. Because at first I still will do first. First you've got the contact sheet, which is just the contacts of the negs, and then you choose from those which you want to work on, and then I'll always just do some first on a 10 by 8, 10/8 inch paper first, a sort of work print, which I used to do very basically, but now I kind of work them up quite a lot to try and make them look as good as I can. But you're limited, I think, at 10 by 8 because it's quite small. But I do work them up really because of the cost and implications now. And also I find I can work them up quite well now. So, but you can do quite a few of them. And then afterwards it's doing a larger print, say this sort of size, which you can start to really see the picture, I think, a lot more. So, but it can end up quite a few. Cost of paper is horrendous.
Yeah. Is there one, I'm aware that we're running out of time, Mark, but is there one photograph here that you're particularly drawn to or feel was significant in some way that you could just talk about with us? I wouldn't say a favourite.
Yeah, no, because it's changed.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One that was particularly difficult to
well, at
achieve,
first,
I don't know.
When I did it, the portal I knew was really special. People, you get, certain quite positive reactions from people, which is about certain images. But it's often not the one I really like so much. Lots of people really love that one, Guardian. I like it, but it's not my Alien. I was very, I love that.
And what is it? Okay, so, when you just go, I just love that.
Well, it's to do more probably about my personality.
Go on.
So that if something I feel is kind of, it's slightly quirky and different, but also simple. I love the simplicity. Yeah. And so it has a sort of, none of them are perfect, but it's kind of got a bit of a wholeness to it.
Yeah, and that's what I guess I'm asking, because of course you can't quite put it into words, which is why you've chosen to photograph it. It's always interesting. I mean, does everyone here have a particular favourite they like? I really love that one. Yeah.
I do for about 30 seconds, then I look at another one. Like that one,
Yeah.
Can I just ask, because your tonal range on something like Portal is absolutely phenomenal. Do you kind of, I'm kind of a little girl in the zone system, this is a bit nerdy. And I've now...
I don't understand it.
Yeah, sorry?
I don't understand. I've not followed it, but I think I do. I sort of do. I do.
Is it kind of instinctive?
Naturally, anyway. Yeah.
Because it's like, because I've been obviously reading books on it and that sort of thing, but it's like always have to think about where you're developing while you're taking and you're composing and that sort of thing, and looking at the light and within the scene. Are you thinking the way you are going to develop and print as well while you're looking at the scene, or is that
not really
as well?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was very aware of using a developer that I could get quite good contrast, but also keep as much detail and shadow detail as I possibly could,
right, yeah.
But also any detail in the highlights. Although these aren't, they're very dark generally, but yeah, as much detail in the shadows, which I still do. I love that. I love it when you sort of see detail coming out of the blackness, and that's what I tried to do with the.
Yeah, and I look at the shadows. I mean, looking at Stave there, in your dark areas, you still got the detail, and yet in the highlight, the sunlight in the background.
Yes, and there's
detail that range, tonal range.
Yeah, I mean, being large format film, I think that helps.
With the long exposure, do you use filters then?
I didn't with these. No. No, I mean, the light was low, and as the lady would say, it was very, and especially at the end of the day and in the winter, there's no light. There's very, very little light, so you had to.
I know there was a lady just over here.
It's not photography related though, actually. What it is you've picked out individual trees here and you've given them names. And you were there a long time and it was very quiet. Did you feel that certain trees have personalities in a way?
Yeah, that was the sort of idea about about it, because they do, plants do as much as animals. I think they certainly can. They evoke that sort of feeling. They should do. I think they can do if you're sensitive to it. Yeah, totally. Amazing. And in the winter they're all asleep, sort of thing, and that was the idea. And they sort of are. And especially when it was quiet and there was no wind and all that, it was a very magical place to be. Which I remember. Yes, but quite sinister as well. Yeah, it wasn't. I thought it, and that's what I tried to do with this as well. It could be quite very sinister sort of place, definitely. Quite, and can be quite scary, you know, on your own, without a doubt.
If you're on your own and you're in a forest and you think, oh, wow.
Yeah, very.
And because they all look the same, is sometimes.
Yeah.
And you think, oh,
Definitely
which
felt
direction?
that.
Especially, oddly enough, if it's a sort of managed farm where, you know, the trees are all in straight lines, and you're moving from one line to another, and you think, oh God, where are you?
It's a very good observation. It's like farm animals, and they're herded together, and you don't see the individual personalities.
No.
Whereas if you have that hen or that hen, you start to see what the idiosyncrasies are.
And they all look
And these are
different.
This is it's a planted environment. It's not a natural environment. Sorry, it is a natural environment.
Yes, that's what was so odd about it, and a lot of people don't get that really. I mean, they just think it's, you live in London and when you see this, you think, well, it's just, wow, complete nature, natural. But it was a farmed and very structured, planted environment, which is.
So I know, Paul, we're sort of reaching the end, but there's one more question here, and then we'll perhaps just ask you to finish.
Have you finished this series, or do you never finish it?
Oh yeah, no, I finished this. It's gone.
I was going to ask, that's a very neat question.
Well, sort of. No, and then I haven't, because the last work.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
I've shot one of the pictures there. I thought was so reminded me of this, because, you know. So you kind of, because you.
Do you want to?
Which was the one on the cover here, which you can't really see, but it's so like this truncated.
Where you thought, that's it. I've got it. I've nailed it. It's all in the back.
Well, I thought that was quite amazing location to find.
But is that the last one that you took?
But this reminds me of this.
Is that the last one that you took, or is it? No. Sort of halfway through, I think, sort of thing, midway about. But this, I think, is very similar to that. To me, this is the same picture, but it's very different in it's more wild, and it's not formal like that, and not formally planted. And that's, you just wouldn't believe where that is. It's so in the fens, really in it's just this clump of trees that are around a farm, what was a farm sort of thing, and surrounding it is just fenland, and it's quite incredible.
What prompted the move to 6x6? I know you moved to medium format.
Yeah. I love the square, and I really do, and the simplicity of the square, and I wanted to sort of work a bit quicker than the 5.4, which was very slow, and setting up, and getting the dark cloth over you, and if there's any wind, it blows that off, and everything. Just so slow. So being a bit quicker and being more mobile really helped. I just sort of walk further and just be so much more mobile.
Do you tend to work with the same focal length on a project, or are you mixing it up?
Mainly the same wide angle. Yeah. But sometimes the standard lens as well, but not a lot more now. Not now. Whereas these were quite. I used quite a long lens with these, and so I was quite far away, and actually to focus in on just a small area looks quite. They don't look like that. I'm quite surprised to say that myself, but I did use quite a long lens for 5.4, because the scale there is quite large. It's it's fantastic place.
Just ask, at what point do you think you had the right images and enough images to make a book?
Yeah, right. That's changed.
Buy the book and find out.
Yeah. You have to buy the book and see, yes. Well, I think you can have too many. I think you books that go on and on and on, a large amount of work. It's a lot to look through in one go, and I want it to be sort of comfortable enough to go through and see the whole thing like an exhibition, really. But I found Truncated was slightly less. These have more pictures in, but it's this a body of work that I think it's just that large. I'm really struggling with this, but large enough to make it's like a show, really, an exhibition.
Did you start with image one was the start of my book, or was it just the start of the project that you enjoyed doing?
Generally, just the start of a body of work that I enjoyed doing, and so the pictures relate to each other. Yeah, and the book then comes if it does, if I can get it published and etc. etc. It's not easy, and like everything, it's got so expensive as well.
Have you got that didn't make the book?
That didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, quite a few. Yeah, always. Yeah, I kind of edit down quite a lot. You always want. There's always one or two you think, I wish I'd put that in, but it probably it's best not to. You always.
Sequencing was quite difficult.
Yeah.
One of your favourite pictures probably isn't in the book because it didn't go with something else.
Yes, hugely, hugely it's the sequence and the total tone of the book. But yeah, sequencing it's. I found it easier with the Fen work. That seemed to the pictures have more narrative to them. They're a bit more documentary. But books like this, and the latest one, Fragile, this was pretty hard to sequence. I found I kept changing it quite a lot. But it's got there in the end. But it is a hell of a process. I've designed them myself, really, and done the sequencing, the editing, and everything myself, So I know people mostly pay someone to do it. I think so. That's why they're quite simple.
Right. Thank you, Eleanor. Go.
These are 5 questions, but we have run over time. Paul, are you happy to stay on for a few more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just staying on, we've still got a burning question.